930. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for making the trip here to Government House, the ceremonial home of all British Columbians. My name is Jeremy Brownridge, and I'm Private Secretary to Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, Wendy Cocchia. And we're gathered today on the beautiful Lekwungen territories, and we thank the Songhees and Esquimalt for sharing this gorgeous garden with us today in this wonderful territory. So thank you so much. On behalf of Her Honor, the Honorable David Eby, Premier, welcome to this ceremony, during which members of the Executive Council of Government of British Columbia will either be sworn in or reaffirmed into new office. These proceedings are rich in the tradition of our constitutional monarchy, starting, of course, from the Magna Carta. And today, the constitutional authority continues to be invested in the Crown as represented by the Lieutenant Governor. In each of our provinces, the Lieutenant Governor exercises the authority of the Crown and in the name of His Majesty gives formal approval to laws enacted by the Legislative Assembly, the administration of which, of course, is carried out in the name of the King by Executive Council, Cabinet, of which the Premier is President. So now that we've concluded that short history lesson, thank you very much. I would now ask, if you're comfortable doing so, to please rise for the entrance of Her Honor, the Premier, and the official party. I'm now delighted to invite Diane Sam, community member of the Songhees Nation, to provide a welcome for us this morning.
Thank you. Cocchia. Sawawa e te pathaksa, thanisne, chisalas and Lekwungen e houset. Thana main la Frank Sam, thana tain la Helena Sam, thana nanana Amy, Danica Thomas, thana Enos Ora. Helix and Quensineatha, Iquanas Quananga Hela. Good morning, everybody. I just introduced myself as Sawawa and Tepathixa. Those two names come from a houset from my late grandma Sarah and my late grandpa Pally from Songhees. It's really important for me to share those names and where I come from so people know who I am. And my late mom and dad are Frank and Helena from Songhees and a houset. My children are Amy, Danica, and Thomas. My granddaughter is Aura. It's really good to see all of you here today. I'm very honored to provide this territorial welcome for you. I got to the Premier and to the Lieutenant Governor for allowing me to open up your work in a good way. Lekwungen translated is place of smoked herring, and it's home of the Songhees and Okosapsan people. Historically, Victoria was compromise, of 12 communities. And essentially, we've been put into 2 communities now. So if you're not from this area, I encourage many of you to learn about your own home territory and where you grew up and know about the history about where you come from and how important that is. I'm very excited to be part of this work. I know it's an exciting day for some of you in this crowd as well. I lift my hands up to the Government House for allowing me to welcome all of you. So I welcome you on behalf of my family, my community, our leadership, our elders, but more importantly, our ancestors. Haichka.
Thanks so very much, Diane. That was wonderful. I'm now delighted to introduce Her Honor to provide her remarks this morning, Your Honor. Please sit.
Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by acknowledging we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and I thank them for sharing these lands in peace and friendship. Thank you so much to Songhees community member Diane Sam for that beautiful welcome. We really appreciate you being here today. Mr. Premier, ministers, ministers designates, families, colleagues, and friends. As Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, it is my privilege and honor to preside over today's ceremony, my first in this critical constitutional role. While these proceedings are a well-established part of responsible government, they also remind us of something more profound: the strength of Canada's parliamentary democracy rooted in constitutional monarchy. On behalf of His Majesty the King, King Charles III, the King of Canada, I extend warm congratulations to everyone receiving an appointment today. I want to thank the Premier for his leadership, diligent work, and tireless hours. They are noticed, sir, and appreciated. I also want to thank the Government House team members and the government team that has put together this wonderful ceremony this morning. It's a very meaningful ceremony, and I can tell you that they've worked very hard to make sure that everything is absolutely wonderful, including the sunshine ordered on cue. To the ministers designate, I realize that taking on new responsibilities in front of cameras and colleagues and constitutional representatives just may not be the most relaxing way to spend a Thursday, Sunday morning, but it is a very meaningful one, and I want you to enjoy each and every moment of today. Your appointment reflects confidence in both your integrity and your ability to serve. I recognize that public service at this level demands long hours, difficult decisions, and personal sacrifice from yourself, from your families, from your loved ones, and I'm going to include pets as well. Please know that those sacrifices are valued and they are seen. We gather today at a time of real challenge in British Columbia, Canada, and globally. The work ahead for you will not always be easy, but it is critical, and you will not do it alone. As we carry out this ceremony, let it serve as not just a formality, but as a moment of reflection on duty, on trust, and the enormous privilege that you have to serve the people of British Columbia. Thank you so very much, and enjoy your day.
Thanks so much, Your Honor. I'm now delighted to invite Premier David Eby to provide his remarks.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks so much, Diane, Sam, for the welcome to the territory. It was an honor to speak with you before, and really appreciate your remarks this morning. Your Honor, thank you to you and your team for hosting us here today. It's a beautiful setting for an important update for British Columbians about some work that our team has to do for them right across the province. The world has changed since the election and since the swearing in of our first cabinet. We've seen escalating threats matched with action from the President of the US attacking our economy. The results of that are showing up right across Canada and around the world. And the concern that I have, that many British Columbians have, is that things may get significantly worse. With that said, the good news is, here in British Columbia, we have everything we need to be successful here. We have the resources. We have the access to global markets through the coast. And most importantly, we have the incredible people to realize that potential, our potential, and the vision that we have that British Columbia will be the economic engine of the new Canada that we're building together. The thing about the amazing people of British Columbia is that our caucus is also filled with them. We have a very deep bench. We have some remarkably talented people in our cabinet and in our caucus, and many people we can trust to serve in different roles for our government. The challenges we face, the skills that our team has, are why I've made the decision to strategically match members of our caucus with different roles to ensure that we're meeting the moment for British Columbians, to protect jobs and the economy, to ensure that we are fulfilling our promise and our potential, that we are growing a more resilient economy and strengthening the services that so many families depend on right across our province. These changes will help our government meet the moment for British Columbians, which is what they expect us to do, and rightly so. We have new faces who are stepping up to take on important roles in our cabinet. We have experienced ministers who have served for many years, who are continuing to serve, but in different roles. The task that they have is to drive forward our long-term prosperity, and it is not a minor one. Serving in cabinet is a privilege and an enormous responsibility. And each of the ministers I'm appointing today, I have complete confidence that you are all up to the task ahead. Finally, and in closing, I want to thank two remarkable ministers. First, Gary Begg, for his exceptional work in the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General and service to the community, and the service that he will engage in going forward for the people of Surrey delivering infrastructure. And George Chow, for his important work ensuring the services that British Columbians can depend on are delivered effectively and efficiently, and for the work ahead in supporting challenging work that we have to do in Vancouver's downtown east side and in Chinatown. I know they'll bring the same enthusiasm and energy to those new roles as they did to their cabinet roles. With that, I will hand it back over to Jeremy, our Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you very much, Premier. Her Honor will now conduct the oaths of office. As representative of the King, the Lieutenant Governor will install or reappoint some members of Executive Council, and then upon Premier Eby's recommendation, Her Honor will install the members selected for the Executive Council by administering these oaths of allegiance, office, and confidentiality. And then after that, the Premier will announce the portfolios. So once Her Honor administers each of the three oaths, we would invite the Executive Council members to either swear, affirm, or reaffirm as per your position. So thank you so much, Your Honor.
Okay, are you ready? I, Wendy Cocchia, in my capacity as Lieutenant Governor of the Province of British Columbia, do hereby administer the oaths of allegiance, office, and confidentiality to you as a member of the Executive Council in this His Majesty's Province of British Columbia. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me, including your given names and surname. Excellent. That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors, so help me God, according to the law. I, that I will serve His Majesty duly and faithfully, and to the best of my ability, fulfill the responsibilities and trust granted to me as a member of the Executive Council of British Columbia. I, that I will keep confidential all matters dealt with in the Executive Council, and I will not disclose any of the same to any person other than a member of the Executive Council, except as authorized by it or as required in the lawful discharge of my duties as a member of the Executive Council. Outstanding. I hereby declare you duly affirmed or reaffirmed as a member of the Executive Council of the Government of British Columbia. Well done.
Thanks very much, Your Honor. We'll now invite the Premier back up to the podium to introduce the ministers and their portfolio.
So this is in alphabetical order. Ish. The first is the new Minister of Citizen Services, Diana Gibson.
There's the fun.
Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, Christine Boyle.
The desk if you're too tall.
Minister of Jobs and Economic Growth, Ravi Kahlon. Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence and New Technologies, Rick Blumack. Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills, Jesse Sooner. Love that enthusiasm. Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General, Nina Krieger. It's a good thing I said roughly alphabetical order. I'm not even sure we're roughly alphabetical order anymore. Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, Spencer Chandra Herbert. Want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Last but certainly not least, the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport, Anne Kang.
Well, that concludes this wonderful and beautiful ceremony this morning in these gardens. Thanks to Rick Devereaux for the choice. Great, good call. Now we'll invite, that concludes the ceremony, as I just said. Anybody who's interested in a cup of coffee, cup of tea, or a glass of water, we're just through the doors here into the hallway. So thank you so much for coming and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Joining us, nice to see everybody. Thanks for joining us for the swearing in of our new and reassigned ministers. The world has changed since we formed government. The threats from the president have not only escalated, but they have started to materialize in economic impacts right across the country, including in British Columbia. We need to ensure that we have the skills and the ministers in the right places to meet this moment, to ensure that British Columbians' jobs are protected, to grow our economy, and ensure we're meeting this moment. And I have every confidence that the team that we've assembled here today will be able to meet that moment. Look forward to the questions from our friends in the media today.
Thanks for joining us. For those members on the phone line, please press *1 to enter the queue. All members of the media will be limited to one question and one follow-up. We can begin with Wolf Deppner from the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Thank you, Premier, for taking my question. I wanted to start off with some national politics first. And obviously, there's a First Ministers meeting next week. Can you sort of talk about what BC's expectations are heading into the meeting? What are some of BC's red lines when it comes to various projects? And can you also sort of talk about what sort of a larger strategic goal BC is going to be pursuing in the First Minister's talk? Thank you.
Well, we have two key goals when it comes to working with the federal government and with colleagues across Canada. The first is to bring forward and to really underline the opportunity that's present in British Columbia to respond to the trade challenge that we face from the United States right now. You want to diversify markets, while British Columbia faces 2/3 of the world's population through our ports. Resources are in demand around the world. It's one of the key trading opportunities that we can leverage into deepening relationships. While British Columbia has those resources, we have $30 billion of capital investments in mines in British Columbia that we are working on right across the province, in every corner of the province. You want to talk about creating products and doing it in a way that responds to the challenge of climate change, clean electricity, to help deliver energy products and projects that will grow our economy while helping reduce emissions globally and create jobs and GDP growth here. All ready to go. Private sector projects, funded, exceptional opportunities. So that's the first part, is the promise of British Columbia to help respond to this national challenge that we face. The second part is basic fairness. The tariff responses that have been imposed by the federal government on the US in response to the attacks by the president have fallen disproportionately on British Columbians. 20% of that tariff impact is centered right here on British Columbia. And that is for a variety of factors, but the recently announced steel tariffs will also have impacts on British Columbians. And so making sure that the tariff responses are proportionate, that where they're disproportionately impacting British Columbians, that there is corresponding support from the federal government, and that we get access to the same level of attention, for example, on the softwood lumber, as Ontario gets on the auto parts sector. That we get the same amount of attention on capital projects as Alberta is currently getting in relation to their proposals. And those requests for fairness are something that we have to continue to work on, and I'll be heading out to Ottawa in the fall to help underline some of that as well. It's a continual project for British Columbia premiers of all stripes, and we'll take it up with particular enthusiasm.
Great. And follow-up, Wolf?
Yes, thank you. Now let's turn to the cabinet shuffle. Gary Begg is out. George Chow's out. Two senior hands, so to speak, in cabinet. Diane Gibson has received what one might call a demotion, while Ravi Kahlon is back in his old jobs portfolio. Can we interpret these changes as a sign that your government only can draw from a limited number of individuals whose trust you have? Thank you.
No, not at all, Wolf. And I don't agree with your characterization of the shift with Minister Gibson. We do have an exceptionally talented caucus team. We have a very deep bench. We have a remarkable cabinet team. Like a manager or a coach of a sports team, when you're facing a particular opponent or a particular moment, you might have to shift some players to ensure that the skills that they bring to the table are meeting the moment for the whole team. And that's what's happening here. The contributions of Gary Begg and George Chow were exceptional and greatly appreciated. They're going to do important work in their new portfolios. Minister Gibson is going to bring her relationships with the business community that she's fostered and her experience working at a national level, driving the elimination of internal trade barriers that cost every Canadian money. She's going to take that experience into the new Ministry of Citizen Services, where we're doing some heavy lifting to make sure that we're delivering services more efficiently and effectively for British Columbians in the way that they expect in every corner of the province. It's a huge job ahead, and I have every confidence in her to take that on. They're different jobs, but they are significant and important.
Our next question will come from Vaughn Palmer from Vancouver Sun. Go ahead, Vaughn.
Good morning, Premier. There's a little boy in Alberta, same age as Charlie Pollock, same disease, same treatment, but the difference is the Alberta government's paying for the drug, and his father says the drug's helping manage the seizures. Does it embarrass you that if Charlie Pollock were living in Alberta, she wouldn't be reduced to going to GoFundMe to pay for the drug?
Well, Vaughn, thanks for the question. I mean, this is a really awful case. This is a beautiful child and a family facing a horrific diagnosis. Medical experts are disagreeing about the best course of action. But let me say how inspiring and beautiful it is to see British Columbians, to see a community come together around Charlie and her family to support them in this moment. That's the kind of province this is, and that's a really amazing thing to see, and I'm very grateful for that. We said from the beginning, the minister has said it, I've said it, that politicians should not be the one making decisions about medical care in this province. I believe that very strongly as a fundamental principle. We have a very challenging situation here where we have a disagreement among experts. We received a letter this morning from slightly more than a dozen experts in Batten disease from the United States who wrote to the minister and I, expressing that their perspective on this medication is that it would continue to provide benefit for patients, including for Charlie, that are at the stage that she's at. It's a significant letter. I take it seriously. I know the minister does as well. She's taking it to the committee, and she'll have more to say about it tomorrow.
Question.
I wanted to ask about this awful case in Kelowna where Bailey McCourt was beaten to death with a hammer on the street. The accused in that case, her estranged husband, charged with second-degree murder, was in court earlier that day and found guilty of 3 counts of threatening and 1 of assault by choking. The court record there now indicates that the Crown prosecutor did not oppose the release of the accused, or not the accused, the convicted. Didn't oppose it. Didn't argue that in light of the violence in the case or anything, the guy should have been locked up. Instead, he was released, and we know what he's accused of doing. When you were first asked about this case, it was early and we didn't know any of that. You suggested the problem was bail reform. Is it possible that this is actually a case where the prosecution screwed up?
Well, Vaughn, certainly it's possible, and we have seen occasions where I've departed from the decision of prosecutors. But let me say, it's a challenging job, and it's an important job they take on for the province. This is a horrific case. This case underlines for me, and I am sure for the new Minister of Public Safety, and for a while for the Attorney General, our concerns that the criminal justice system is inadequately responding to the needs of women, particularly disproportionately, who are physically attacked by their partners. This resulted in the work that was done with Dr. Stanton. This resulted in the AG leading the charge at the federal level for bail reform related to intimate partner violence. And it gets a little bit technical, but the reverse onus provision, that where you have to prove yourself that you deserve to be released in a repeat violent offense situation, happens at the beginning of the process. After sentencing, current federal law is that there is no reverse onus at the conclusion of the trial, that the bail conditions are presumed to continue. And this is an example of the kinds of challenges we face with federal bail law. The need to have a look at this specific case to identify, as you say, whether somebody screwed up is an important question. But my understanding of what the current federal bail provisions are is that the reverse onus applies at the beginning, not at the end of the trial, and that bail conditions are presumed to continue through to sentencing.
Our next question will come from Rob Buffum from CTV News. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, hi, Premier. I have a question on behalf of a colleague who wanted to get your reaction to those events on Tuesday that started at the Victoria Airport and culminated in Vancouver. A pretty scary incident for a lot of people. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty wild story. I want to thank all of the calm and responsive and effective people who were part of the group responding to this bizarre moment at one of the busiest airports in Canada. For everyone from the air traffic controllers managing all of those planes, to the airport staff, to the police and others. It's what they train for, and I think maybe a moment that they didn't really expect and certainly hoped would never materialize. That it was resolved without loss of life, that it was resolved without more significant disruption is a testament to their skill to talk this person down, to get them into custody, and to ensure the business of the airport could continue. So I'm grateful for that, and I understand the individual has been charged by federal prosecutors with various offenses, including terrorism-related offenses. And so I'm sure we'll learn more as it moves its way through the court system.
And Rob, do you have a follow-up question?
I do. I'm just wondering, in terms of the cabinet shuffle today, Gary Begg, is there any way to see this as anything short of a demotion? Donald Trump, his impact, it's hard to see how that would require a shift in an MLA from Surrey being demoted. And I know that you and him were sort of at loggerheads in a sense about the handling of that file where the police were asked to investigate his critic, and he had to issue an email after the fact saying, I've had a chance to speak with the Premier and I am more on side with his earlier view. Doesn't his shuffling out of cabinet, doesn't that represent that you didn't have confidence in how he was handling that important file?
Yeah, no, not at all. The work by Minister Begg at the time included the transition, the incredibly fraught and challenging transition of the Surrey Police Service to a municipal force, the largest transition of its kind in the history of the country. He did an exceptional job on that. As I said earlier, this is about matching skills to the moment that we face. We are in a moment in our province where significant cultural and religious communities feel under profound threat because of rising racism, because of, on occasion, violent protests and threats directed at places of worship in our province, and in at least one case, arson at a synagogue. as well as threats that seem to be targeting particular communities, like the extortion issue in Surrey. Nina brings an incredible background working with communities, ensuring that their concerns are translated into government policy and action-oriented results. And she is going to be bringing that experience in partnership with Terry Young, who has decades of experience as a police officer, as Minister of State, around community safety, to help us address these twin challenges we face in the province around public safety. One is this very specific concern around the public safety of different groups in our province. And the other is issues around street disorder, mental health, addiction, that often affect perceptions of safety, but it can also, on occasion and horrifically, involve actual threats to safety, as we've seen on too many occasions, both in the province and across North America. So they're going to be a great team. I'm really excited that she's agreed to take this on. I know it's a significant role for a new minister, but I am convinced that Nina has the capacity in the background to be able to do an exceptional job in it.
Our next question will come from Rob Shaw from Check News. Go ahead, Rob.
Your housing minister has been housing minister for a while, executed a bunch of changes in the middle of some more, try and salvage some residential condo developments that are going under. Moving him out of housing in the middle of that, is there a risk there that your momentum and that your work on housing is kind of disrupted? And why did you do that?
Thanks, Rob. I think, for British Columbia, it's hard to think of an issue that's more important for them than affordable housing, whether it's a place to rent or a place to buy. There are big changes happening in the condo market across Canada. And Toronto and Vancouver are probably the exemplars of that. There has been a shift away from investment, foreign investment, speculation. And there was a significant business model that was built on people buying and selling pre-sale condos. We made some deliberate decisions to move away from that. And we also, the challenge we face is we need significant additional new housing to respond to the needs that people have out there. So as we face this transition that's taking place in the market that's been amplified by the uncertainty around the Trump tariffs and interest rates and everything else for families that were maybe thinking about buying, but they're going to wait and see what happens. It's really showing up in terms of new housing construction across the country. There's an important piece of work for the new minister to take on here. The good news is the Minister Kahlon's still around the table, that he'll be supporting the minister in the work that is to come and facilitating a quick and effective transition of the file. And I needed Ravi. I needed him to step into the Jobs and Economic Growth Ministry. Real estate is one sector in the province. We have many sectors under direct threat by the United States. We have to transition very quickly. He's bringing deep relationships with the business community, deep experience in government policy. He has been doing a lot of work with our tariff committee, and I am very thrilled that he's agreed to take that on and that Minister Boyle has agreed to take on the housing portfolio at this time. There's a lot of work to do on both fronts, and they're both very capable people. I have total confidence in that.
And Rob, a follow-up question.
Just to go back to Charlie Pollock, if, and this seems very likely, tomorrow we still end up in a situation where the world's experts and the BC government's experts disagree on what to do about this situation with her medication, and she is the only girl in British Columbia with this, and she's about to become the only person in Canada to ever be discontinued under this criteria. Do you look at that gray area and as Premier say, maybe you or someone intervenes to try and solve a situation where the science does not appear to be getting us to a position where we're settled?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I think your question really illustrates the challenge of this file. Certainly to me, to see the suffering of this family, the anxiety of this family, and their beautiful child that faces this horrific diagnosis and what they have yet to go through. Whatever we can do to support them, I want to do that. And at the same time, we have this challenge of a disagreement between experts. We got a letter this morning, a significant letter from medical experts in the United States that treat children with this disease. They have raised some very serious concerns about the Health Canada criteria that are applied in this country, and that was applied by the committee that included metabolic disease experts here in British Columbia in making a decision about the risk and reward of administering a medication directly to this child's brain versus the impact of the medication and alternatives that may be available. That disagreement is certainly causing a lot of concern. The letter that we got this morning is a weighty one. It's significant. The minister is taking it to the committee, and she'll have more to say about this tomorrow.
This question will come from Mark Page from Black Press. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, this seems like a major shakeup after just 8 months. Why these big changes so soon? And how can we not read this as like there's some sort of internal discord, or maybe you're not particularly pleased with how some people manage their files over the last 8 months?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you get there from what happened today, but I guess it suffices to say that I disagree with your characterization. I've got exceptional ministers. They've got remarkable skill sets. Ensuring that I've got the right player in the right position to face the team that we're playing is crucial, and that's what today was about. We face a really significant opponent, the President of the United States of America, who is committed to destroying our Canadian economy, and is completely indifferent to the impact that has on Americans and British Columbians alike. And so making sure I've got the right people in the right spots to face this challenge with their skills is crucial. And I'm, as I said in my opening remarks, I'm concerned that worse is to come. But I know that this province has such incredible potential that we are realizing and we are seeing. And this is our opportunity to step up into our role as the engine of Canada's new economy. And this is the team that's going to help us do that.
And Mark, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, it looks like there's a new Minister of State for AI and New Technologies instead of a Minister of State for Trade, which I believe now is the Parliamentary Secretary role. Can you maybe explain those changes a little bit more, what that Minister of State for AI will be doing? And are we going to see mandate letters soon?
Yes, we'll have mandate letters out shortly for the new positions. The Minister of State for AI and New Technologies is responding to ensuring that we're building up a number of different sectors in the province. We have world-leading AI research here in British Columbia. We have incredible quantum computing research that's happening right here in BC. We are a growing hub for life sciences research, thanks to the historic legacy of stem cell, and that company continues to grow in all of the companies that are associated with it. Minister Glumac's job will be to ensure that our new technology sectors are part of the growing economy that we have here in British Columbia, creating jobs and opportunity, ensuring that businesses are leveraging the opportunities created by AI, but also making sure that workers are supported in what is appearing to be a fairly significant transition of their daily work life. And so it's a significant and important role. It's also paired up with a federal minister who is allocating significant resources to AI and new technology. And it's Minister Glumac's role to be in the face of that minister, who lives in Toronto, is the Minister for Southwestern Ontario Economic Development, is very focused in Ontario to make sure that he understands the new technologies and the work that's happening here in British Columbia and can advocate for our industries so that the focus doesn't remain in central Canada, but is distributed across the country.
We have time for one more question. The Premier's available. We can go to Fran Yanor from the Northern Bay. Go ahead, Fran.
Thanks. Hi, Premier.
Hi, Fran.
A different topic here.
Sure.
U.S.-Canadian law enforcement report transnational crime groups enabled by antagonistic nation states are operating across multiple areas: trafficking, money laundering, cyber attacks, hyper warfare, particularly in BC, but of course in Canada. Essentially, they're saying it's a threat to our democracy. Meanwhile, municipal, provincial, and federal law enforcement have told me that they're seeing increased sophisticated operations across these sectors, as well as in weaponry, drug production, and organization by crime groups. Sorry for the long question. Are you aware that all these activities are linked? Are you concerned? Do you think they represent a threat to our sovereignty, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, we've had some really concerning incidents of of foreign interference alleged in British Columbia. They include the so-called foreign police stations, so the government of China. They include allegations about the government of India's involvement in a murder in Surrey. There have been a number of concerns raised about that kind of foreign interference in British Columbia for a long time. I've been concerned about the ease with which money moves through real estate, money service businesses, and others, which is why we called a public inquiry about that. We're well advanced in implementing all the recommendations from that, but British Columbia is, I will say, alone almost in Canada in confronting this with the kind of regulatory changes we've made around transparency for corporations, law enforcement access to information, and so on. We do need to ensure that those protections are put in place across the country. There is a significant role for our public safety minister to advance this conversation with Ottawa. And I'll conclude by saying, sadly, disappointingly, frustratingly, despite a multi-year campaign, I have yet to be briefed by our federal spy agency, CSIS, on organizations, individuals, and businesses alleged to be involved in this activity so the government can respond accordingly. There were significant changes made to the CSIS Act to enable those kinds of briefings. We continue to make requests, and my hope is with a new public safety minister federally that we'll be able to get sign-off on the kind of briefings that we need here in British Columbia to ensure we're protecting British Columbians and responding accordingly.
A follow-up question, Fran?
Thank you. Canadian intelligence sources have warned of investments by nations unfriendly to Canada, that they're gaining influence in our energy sector through joint ventures and ownership. Some, including some First Nation partnerships, have been flagged by CSIS, for instance. Given the current push to approve mining and energy products or projects, bypassing approval processes and the criteria that industry has to work with First Nations, I'm just wondering, what is your government doing to ensure that we are protecting BC's energy sector, like specifically to ensure that in this rush to get them out the door, we're not jeopardizing our industry?
Thanks. I think, and I'm hopeful that significant initiatives announced by the federal government that haven't yet been realized, foreign agents registry, among other suggestions about tracking foreign interference, as well as a review and reform related to investment oversight that the federal government plays in terms of international investment, including in energy and resource projects, will assist us in understanding how we can support them in their national security work related to this. It's crucial that our projects are delivered for British Columbians, that they create jobs and opportunity, but that we don't inadvertently support interference in British Columbia or Canada through our relentless advocacy to deliver these projects to ensure we're responding to the threat presented by Donald Trump to our economy. So it's a challenge, but the federal government holds all the cards here in terms of that international knowledge from CSIS and diplomatic corps around the world, as well as their investment review process, and we are standing ready to support them for issues that they identify.
And that's all the time we have for the Premier's Avail today.
Great.
As the Premier is exiting, I'm going to ask everybody else to stay where they are. So we're going to continue with an Avail for Ministers Callan, Minister Suna, and Minister Krieger.
Man, he's tall. It's fantastic to be here and joined by my colleagues. I'll just start off by echoing some of the comments that Premier Eby made. There's a lot that's happened in the last year. I think we're at a unique time when it comes to the history of this province, when it comes to the challenges that our country is facing right now. President Trump, is no surprise, has launched both an attack on our economy, but also has threatened our independence, our sovereignty as a country, and we need to respond in kind. The unfortunate news around all this is that the people who are going to face the impacts of those tariffs are working people on both sides of the border, people here in British Columbia, across Canada, but unfortunately also in the US as well. The Premier highlighted that we are actually in a unique position because we have everything we need to be able to weather this storm and be more successful than we were before. We have the resources, we have the innovation, and quite frankly, the most important asset we have is our people.
So I'm very excited to get to work with colleagues, with members from industry, with folks across the country. I've already received messages from a few federal ministers, and I look forward to doing some important work with them in the coming weeks and months ahead. And colleagues are excited about our new rules and happy to take any questions today.
Thank you, Minister. We're going to begin with a question from Alec Lazenby from the Vancouver Sun. Go ahead, Alec.
Hi, my first question is for Minister Krieger. Obviously, public safety is one of the biggest concerns of British Columbians right now throughout the province. We've seen the extortion cases in Surrey. We've seen the tragic death of a woman in Kelowna after her estranged husband was let out following a hearing. We've seen continued concerns around mental health and addictions throughout the province, Victoria, Vancouver. I know you've had this job for 5 minutes now, but what is your plan at this point? How do you plan to go about tackling some of those deeply entrenched issues?
Thank you so much for the question. I am humbled and excited to take on this role. Public safety is one of the central issues of our time, and British Columbians are looking to us to protect people and create safe, healthy communities. I'm looking forward first and foremost to being briefed by my team at the ministry and to continuing the important work happening on a number of fronts. These include working with law enforcement to ensure that they have the tools and resources that they need to keep people safe. Working with businesses and the business community in downtowns across the province to combat petty crime and vandalism. To ensure that we are combating hate, to really ensure that all people across BC, all groups are protected. And of course, I'm looking forward to working closely with Minister Young and Minister Osborne to ensure coordination between mental health and addiction services with the work of public safety to ensure that we can build safer and healthy and really compassionate province for everyone that calls this a place home.
And Alec, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. My follow-up is for Minister Callon. Obviously, being moved from housing back to the jobs portfolio, portfolio you know well, but at the same time, the province is facing issues around youth unemployment. Youth are coming into the workforce, having trouble finding jobs. At the same time, we do have the U.S. tariff threat and everything from lumber to copper, aluminum, steel being targeted. BC is impacted varying degrees by that. But what's your plan to, come into the jobs ministry and protect jobs while also creating new ones? And do you feel like you had any unfinished business at housing? I know there's lots of big initiatives that you helped spearhead, but do you feel like there's anything that's left unfinished that you wish you had been able to stick around to help complete?
Well, first off, on housing, whenever you have people still looking for housing and still finding housing out of reach, you always feel like there's unfinished business. But I have full confidence in Minister Boyle. She is very intelligent, very thoughtful, and will carry this file forward, I think, in a really good way. So complete confidence in the work that she'll do in this file, and she'll bring some new ideas and different energy to the file. I think it'll be great, and I'm going to continue to work with her on that. As far as the challenges, you laid out a lot of the challenges. We've got the significant threats from the Trump administration. That is top of mind for working people across this province, across this country. So there's a few places I'm going to put my energy to. First, put my energy to being briefed a few hours from now on the latest work. But a few focuses will be on continuing the work on interprovincial trade and reducing those barriers. We have to expand our trade infrastructure so that we can quite frankly, facilitate the growth of the country. I think all the provinces are looking west. They're looking to British Columbia because if they're going to move their goods, it's going to have to come through British Columbia. So we're going to have to do a lot of work there, but we're also going to have to reach further across the globe to build new relationships, to strengthen relationships that we have. When it comes to youth employment, I'm concerned. I talk to young people all the time who are saying that they're just not seeing the same level of opportunities. And then you add in AI. And I'm excited to have AI as part of the portfolio because there's huge opportunities for the economy to increase productivity. but we also need to ensure that our people have the skills to be able to harness the power of AI. That means everything from young people in schools, making sure that they have the ability to be able to be trained on how to use the AI, but also to identify the challenges in AI, but it also means that our existing workforce needs to be retooled and reskilled. So there is no shortage of work when it comes to this ministry. The Premier has asked me to take his vision of being the engine of growth for the country forward, and I really am looking forward to getting to work very soon after this press conference.
Our next question will come from Rob Buffum from CTV News. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, thanks for taking my question. It's for the Public Safety Minister and Solicitor General. I wanted to get your reaction. Street disorder is obviously a very big issue, including here in Victoria. People are very upset about it. There's this group called Save Our Streets that met with the federal Liberal BC caucus, pushing for some changes, including to the exemption that decriminalizes certain drugs in BC and BC alone. That exemption ends at the end of January 2026. I know it's a fresh position for you, but you must have thought about this issue. What do you think about that? I mean, we look at Pandora Street and all the challenges there. Would you be open to advocating for that change? Would you support that change to end the exemption here in BC?
I hear, as MLA for Victoria Swan Lake, concerns that my community members have, that business members have, the work that nonprofits do on the ground to deal with public safety matters and ensuring that we're able to combat street disorder. I'm looking forward to working with all my colleagues in Cabinet to tackle these complex issues, working very closely with residents, with law enforcement, and with community groups to ensure that we can meet the expectations and the needs of British Columbians, which is to not only feel safe in our streets, but to be safe in our streets as well. And I'm very looking forward to being briefed and carrying on this important work.
And Rob, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to parse an answer there. Are you open to the idea, I guess maybe a two-parter, are you open to the idea of pushing to see an end to the exemption that allows different street drugs to be decriminalized? And I guess a second question would be, the City of Victoria has come forward with over $10 million to fund police officers, 9 new cops in Victoria focused on Pandora and Princess Avenue. Those streets, nobody can be happy about what's going on there. $10 million probably is not enough to get Victoria's downtown core turned around. Would you look at providing more funding for addressing that issue here?
As MLA for Victoria Swan Lake, I have close working relationships with mayor, with councillors, and also with business owners and residents that feel all too often unsafe in our downtown core. I'm looking forward to building on those relationships. And I think it's so key, and this is what I've done for much of my career, is to bring people together, often with lived experiences, and to work on solutions that are very much rooted in communities. So right now, as a new minister, I'm looking forward to learning, to being briefed thoroughly my team, and to working with colleagues to tackle the central issues of our time, which includes public safety and addressing street disorder, not only here in Victoria, but also in communities across our province.
Next, we'll go to Rob Shaw from Czech News. Go ahead, Rob.
Back to Minister Krieger. You're going to face, I imagine, some frustration meeting with groups who have been talking about the same thing for years now. And you're going to be approaching them as a new minister saying, hi. What do you do to avoid this perception that the government is reinventing the wheel and that there's going to be a down period here where you have to get up to speed on a file that for some people is a brewing crisis that they are immensely frustrated about?
I hear every day from citizens in my own riding, and I hear from colleagues in government and across the aisle about the really urgent public safety issues facing communities across this province. And I'm looking forward to doing the work closely with colleagues and with the Premier to really dig into these issues. I'm expected to be briefed later this afternoon and to really hit the ground running so that we can do the vital work that people are expecting and people need in terms of ensuring that residents here in BC are protected and everyone can have safe, secure, and healthy communities.
And Rob, do you have a follow-up question?
Sure. For Minister Center, you're inheriting a portfolio at a time when it's like the explodium, but the old-fashioned way. You can take the time to adjust it if you need to as well. But you're inheriting a portfolio where universities and colleges are cutting budgets, where the international student issue is a problem for the financial viability of universities. Tell me a bit about tackling that challenge and what seems to be for some universities and colleges right now, a kind of financial crunch that they are looking and will be looking to you for help on.
Thank you for the question. We know that the impact on universities and colleges across our province and across the country is significant, and that has a lot to do, not just here, but with federal regulations as well, and it has a lot to do with what's happening around the world. So it's really important that we know that the relationships are there with our universities and colleges, and we're going to continue to build on that and continue to build on the good work that Minister Kang's done and make sure that we are working with them to support them and working with our ministers to make sure we're innovating and seeing how we can help support students and help support just folks looking for jobs and how we can up skills training to make sure that we are putting BC and Canada in the best economic position to be self-sufficient.
And thank you, ministers. Thanks everyone for joining us today. That's all the time we have today.